Welcome, guys, to come to work with me for yet another beautiful week. First thing to get started, of course, is I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I come from today, which is the Taungurung people, the Kulin Nations, and of course the Wurundjeri people as well. We acknowledge their elders past, present, and emerging, and we'd also like to acknowledge all the traditional owners of where everyone is joining us from today. And to get started, we have got a fantastic and very strong, empowering woman with us today. Ashley, how are you going?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
That is good to hear. Now, can you tell us what you do? We've just seen, of course, the short video there, which shows you with some big machinery and that sort of thing. Give us a little bit more insight.
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm working a fly in, fly out job in central Queensland, and that's at a coal mine for a business called BMA, which is a part of BHP. And I'm a diesel fitter there. So my job involves maintaining the equipment that they use to dig and drill into the earth as part of gathering this coal. I'm a part of the field team there, so I'm working on bulldozers and excavators and shovels as part of my daily activities at work.
Yeah, amazing. That is so cool. Um, where did you begin? How did you get to this point in your life?
Finding the industry was actually an accident. So I signed up for work experience at a local employer at a engine manufacturer called Cummins, just here in Victoria in Laverton. And I had never had a mechanical interest before that. And when I signed up for this work experience, I didn't actually know what I'd signed up for. I put my hand up thinking I might be working on cars and I'd maybe be cool like Megan Fox in the first Transformers movie. And then when someone actually told me I was going to work on heavy diesel trucks, I didn't want to go. So I was very fortunate that my parents told me not to waste a good opportunity. And I went and did my week of work experience with Cummins. And I was in love. I just had an amazing time there. I was so intrigued by the nature of the work, as they were a specialized business that had a lot more focus on engines. And that allowed me to get exposure to the industry, which I then followed up with doing vet throughout my VCE studies. And when I came to year 12, even though I completed VCE, I didn't apply for a single university because I already knew that I wanted to have an apprenticeship after my high school journey.
Amazing. So, for yourself, you just mentioned that you did do year 12, you did VCE, you did your exams and everything, but you also did your vet course. So,
Yeah.
that was in over 2 years or just over the 1 year?
So the vet course was still structured as a subject throughout year 11 and 12 for me. I was fortunate my school had the facilities on site, so I didn't have to go anywhere because there was a trade training centre at my school to undertake the automotive studies. And so it just became one of my subjects. I was very fortunate for myself because the way the subjects were scheduled, it wasn't something that smoothly aligned with the normal kind of schedule for my VCE subjects because it wasn't a common practice to take VCE and vet. But I was fortunate that I had a lot of teachers support me with that. So I was able to kind of do both throughout high school.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you first did that work experience, how did you know that you had discovered the right career for you? How did you know that you're like, this is it, I'm doing it for the rest of my life?
Well, so I didn't after 1 week. I merely became intrigued by the field. And so what I actually did as part of figuring that out for myself was going back. So over the course of my 3 years in high school, I did 2.5 weeks of work experience at that same employer. I also spent 2 weeks working at a Volkswagen dealership and about a week working with BMW because I was trying to decide, did I want to work on cars or trucks? And I was also trying to figure out, is it something I wanted to do after school? And the only way I could do that was to keep trying and see how it felt long term instead of just that first 5-day experience in year 10. So when it came to year 12, and it was the start of the year, and I hadn't consciously decided what I wanted to do yet. But I was talking to my parents about what my break times would be if I went to Cummins and what they offered as part of their apprenticeship package, as if I already had the job there. And when I finally listened to myself, that's when I realized that I'd made the decision already, and I knew what I wanted to be doing after high school. But that took, 2 years of experimenting to get there.
Absolutely. And I guess like my next question is going to be to you, what was one of the biggest challenges you faced? But sidetracking from that question, being a female in a mainly dominated field, male dominated field, I should say, was that one of your biggest challenges, or was that okay for you just to go straight in? It was about the work. How did you find that aspect?
It was definitely intimidating. So it wasn't something that I went in ignorant about the fact that it was uncommon for women to be in the trade. But in my experience, and I know this isn't the case for everyone, but in my experience, the majority of people, they don't care what your gender is. Because at the end of the day, especially like it may be a male dominated trade, but you're still dealing with people who have sisters and mothers and have friends that are females. So it's not like you're some unknown specimen and they don't know how to treat you. So it was intimidating. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I definitely learned that, especially as a first year apprentice. You do kind of go in there, in my case, I found, and for numerous women I've spoke with, there is this kind of mental idea that we have to prove ourselves because like I am much smaller, my physical capabilities are different, but you definitely learn that it's about who you are as a person and not your gender. And just because you have to learn to do the job slightly differently, that doesn't mean you're less valuable, because there's plenty of even males who are going into the industry now who are much smaller than the traditional image of this big, bulky 40-year-old mechanic. So
no, that's fantastic to hear. And I think a lot of young females do get the impression that in these male dominated industries, like there's no chance of starting out or getting into them or doing an apprenticeship or ending up having that career. Which is a bit disappointing, because I think more females need to get into these trades, and definitely in the mechanic industry and working on these big scary machines like you do. We joked about before how big they were compared to you.
Yeah, I'm small as a female, so I'm under average height, so I only weigh like 50 kg, and I, at the moment, at least working at the mine site, the biggest equipment I work on is at least 3 stories high. So throughout my apprenticeship, I was working on highway trucks, and they were big at the time, and I've only gone to bigger equipment this year. So
oh, good. I could not imagine. That'd be insane.
Yeah,
and you're working quite remotely out in the middle of nowhere in these mines. It's just crazy. It's awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
What has been one of your biggest challenges that you've faced?
Biggest challenge has definitely been more in terms of learning how to modify the job based on my size. So in terms of knowledge, that's the kind of thing that just comes from time and experience. And it has nothing to do with gender or physical capabilities, but it is, of course, a physical job. Like it is something that requires you, like you're on your feet all day. You are using your body constantly. You're lifting things, you're moving things, you're using your body weight to tighten up bolts. So it's definitely, you could watch someone do a job, and then to try and achieve that yourself when they have 30 kg on you, you just can't do it the same way. And just learning to accept that, and then just become resourceful and learn how you can use your own, like learning how to use my own body weight to my advantage, having to be more resourceful about what kind of tooling I potentially use or how I position myself to do the same task. That was definitely the more challenging part. But like in my experience, it's everyone needs help at some point, especially at the mines. Everything is big, and it's not about, yes, I can't lift as much as the others, but the others might still need help themselves because of how big the equipment is. So, you learn to use a crane or a forklift or ask for help, and you don't get turned away. the industry is a lot more conscious of like looking after your body in the industry, because it was the kind of thing a few decades ago, you couldn't be a mechanic after the age of 40 because you'd hurt your back. And it's just that industry is already a lot more conscious about body ergonomics now, so that even though that was the biggest challenge for sure, it's not something that I received resistance around.
It's not something that's held you back from being able to excel at your job.
Yeah, not at all.
That's fantastic. Now, what piece of advice would you give to students who are wanting to get into the trade, who are at that point of year 11 and 12, they're deciding what they want to do? Say it could be a female student who doesn't feel comfortable going into a male-dominated industry. What would you say to them? What would be your best advice?
My biggest advice is really just to, especially while you're still in high school and you still have the opportunity to experiment, definitely, even if it's just 2 days, just put your hand up, reach out to a local employer, and just try some work experience. Because at the end of the day, you can imagine what you think the situation might be like, but until you're there, you're not going to know. So it's definitely something that's intimidating, and you kind of do have to take the jump a little. There is a little bit of risk, but that's always where the reward is. And at the end of the day, if you go and it's not right for you and you know that after the first day, then, there's no shame in saying this isn't right for me. It's really, you've got the opportunity to experiment. And my biggest advice is that while you have the time, take the time to just try new things, because you might be fortunate like me and find a career by accident.
I love that. By accident, but
yeah.
You wouldn't have it any other way, would you?
No, not at all.
Well, good luck with everything. Thank you for joining in with our amazing little web series. And I hope that you'll be able to fly in and fly out of work back to normal shortly.
Yeah, that will be good. Thanks for having me.
Safe and take care of yourself. And of course, thank you for helping to inspire so many other young people out there. Now, you were a vet champion. So of course, everyone, if you're interested in the vet champions, jump online. They are at www.vic.gov.au/vet-champions. You can read up all about the amazing work that all of our vet champions do, how they got there, and their whole story, basically. There's a video. It's fantastic. I love jumping on and learning about what everyone does. Now, I know Carrie's also got a little slide that she could possibly put up with a bit more information. Oh, there we go. So you can download lesson plans that are in regards to come to work with me about everyone that we've interviewed and hung out with. And of course, we've got a quick survey, and we've got our vet champions there as well. Stay tuned on Facebook and online for next week's episode. We will let you know as soon as we have a time and day locked in. Other than that, have a great week. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll get back to everyone soon.